Good morning. Good morning. Hari. Uh, so straight away, shall we start writing the answers? This is the 11th question paper, right? Mm, at the same time, I will share this in your group as well. You can start writing. So when we discuss, you'd better to turn on the video. Okay, Shanela. Up to the second question. Hands up those who are still writing. One. Turn on the videos. Hurry. So shall we move on? Yes. ඇති නේද? හරි videos on කරන්න. Yes, turn on the videos please. Yes, all of you. Turn on the videos. හරි. Move on to the first question. So here it says, last time we discussed about this in the theory class, right? As shown in the following figures, magnesium chloride, sugar, and grease are added to uh, the test tubes A, B, C, and D, A, B, C, D, and E. After that, the substances in the tubes are stirred well. Right. So in the first one, you can see there is distilled water at 25 degrees Celsius. Magnesium chloride is added. D, distilled water at 60 degrees Celsius. Magnesium chloride is added. So here in A and B, you can see that the solute and the solvent are the same. Solute and the solvent are the same. Distilled water, magnesium chloride, solute, solvent. But the temperature is different, 25 and 60. Then in B and C, a distilled water at 25 degrees Celsius. In C, sugar is added. Here, kerosene at 25 degrees Celsius, sugar is added. So you can see the solute is the same, temperature is the same, but the solvent is different, distilled water and kerosene. Then in E, we find kerosene at 25 degrees Celsius like in D, but they have added grease. There what has happened? The solvent is the same, temperature is the same, but the solute is different when we compare D and E. In which test tube a solid liquid heterogeneous mixture is formed? Solid liquid heterogeneous mixture. What do you think? Which one? Yes? Test tube? D, C or D? D, no? D. Heterogeneous mixture because sugar does not get fully dissolved in kerosene. Therefore, it forms a solid liquid heterogeneous mixture. Right? For that, you get 1 mark. D or tube with sugar and kerosene. 1 mark. Write separately the solute and the solvent in this mixture. So the solute is sugar and the solvent is kerosene. Solvent is kerosene. For that you get 1 mark for each. Right, 2 marks. Yes, Shenali, Tisas, Upeksha, Kashvi, Dinut. Shall we turn on the videos? Define solubility of a solute. What do you mean by solubility? Yes, who is going to define? Any volunteer? Okay, Upeksha. Yes, yes, who is going to define? Aaron? Please start once again, Aaron. I couldn't hear the first part. Maximum mass of solute dissolves in 100 grams of solvent. Uh, is that correct? Something is missing. Yes. What is the part that is missing? Yes, that should be the specific temperature, right? The maximum mass of solute that dissolves in 100 grams of a solvent at a certain temperature, at a given temperature. Then only you will get 2 marks at a given temperature. If you haven't mentioned maximum, you will get only 1 mark, right? If any of you have written like this, Mehima, the maximum amount of solute කියලා තිබුණා නම් no marks. Maximum amount, no marks. It should be the maximum mass of solute that dissolves in 100 grams of a solvent at a certain temperature. And so when we express solubility, we have to mention the temperature as well. For example, the solubility of magnesium chloride in distilled water is, I don't know, I will say 52.25 grams at 25 degrees Celsius. එහෙමයි කියන්න ඕනේ. එහෙනම් the maximum mass of solute, maximum mass of solute that dissolves in 100 grams of a solvent at a certain temperature or at a given temperature. So these are essential to get those 2 marks. Right? Maximum mass, 100 grams, temperature, these are essential. Then next part, what factor that affects the solubility can be shown by each of the following pairs of test tubes? A and B. So we mentioned A and B, the difference is in temperature. So A and B, you have to say that it is temperature, 1 mark. C and D. C and D we mentioned the difference is in the solvent, nature of solvent, 1 mark. Then D and E, what is the difference? The solute, nature of solute, solute or nature of solute, 1 mark for each, right? Hari. Then last week we calculated the concentration. Right, in the above experiment, 1.9 grams of magnesium chloride was added. 1.9 grams of magnesium chloride was added to the tube A, and the total volume of the solution formed was 10 cubic centimeters. Find the number of moles of magnesium chloride added. So we have to find the relative molecular mass of magnesium chloride. 24 plus here 35.5 into 2. Right, here it is 71 plus 24 කියලා කියන්නේ කීයද? 95 නේද? 95 is the relative molecular mass of magnesium chloride. So we know the number of moles equals mass divided by the molar mass. Right, so the mass is given as 1.9 grams. 1.9 grams divided by relative molecular mass taken in grams is the molar mass, 95 grams per mole. Right, so here 19 into 5, therefore 1.9 into 50, 1 over 50 moles. Right, you can express it as 1 over 50 means 0.02 moles. Right, 0.02 moles. Avada, did you get the answer? එන්න ඇති අනිවාර්යෙන් අපි ගිය සතිය ගොඩක් ගණන් හැදුවානේ. So for this you get 2 marks. 2 marks හම්බ වෙන්නේ 1.9 divided by 95. 1 mark. Final answer 1 mark. Right, that is how you get 2 marks. Then you are asked to calculate the concentration of the magnesium chloride in the solution. Right? Concentration. And we know concentration equals number of moles divided by the volume. So the number of moles is 0.02. Right? The volume is here 10 cubic centimeters. එතකොට මෙයා divided by 10 cubic centimeters කියලා කියන්නේ 10 divided by 1000 cubic decimeters, right? මෙතන mole cubic decimeters. මෙහෙම නේද වෙන්න ඕනේ. 0.02 moles divided by 10 divided by 1000 cubic decimeters. එදා කියලා දුන්නනේ 1 cubic centimeter equals 1 milliliter. ඊළඟට 1 cubic decimeter equals 1 liter. So 1000 cubic centimeters is equal to 1 cubic decimeter. So in order to convert cubic centimeters into cubic decimeters, we have to divide by 1000. එතකොට මෙතන මොකද වෙන්නේ? 0.02 multiplied by 1000 divided by 10 moles per cubic decimeter. නේද? Moles per cubic decimeter. So it is equal to 2 moles per cubic decimeter. 2 moles per cubic decimeter. Harida, hands up those who got the answer as 2 moles per cubic decimeter. ඔතෙන්ද දුන්න ලකුණු 3ක්. මෙන්න මෙහෙම ලිව්වට for either this or this you get 1 mark. 2 ගත්තට 1 mark. For the unit 1 mark. බලන්න ලකුණු 3ක් දීලා. Okay, half of you have taken the answer. Yes, 11. අනිත් අය වැරදුනාද මොකද උනේ? Yes, Shaneli. Hari, Manuti, you have got it correct. 12. Metuja the ceiling එක පේන්නේ මට. මෙතුජා පේන්නේ නැහැ. Hari. Tisas, Shanela, Upeksha, what happened? Shaneli. Shaneli, you got late. Shaneli, you among waiting room එකේ තිබ්බද? Shaneli, I just saw the message after about half an hour, right? එතකොට මං හිතන්නේ you were in. Upeksha also got late. මොකද නින්ද ගියාද? හරි. ඔන්න දැන් තේරෙනවනේ මොන වගේ ප්‍රශ්නද අහන්නේ කියලා in the O level paper, right? So you are new to this type of calculations. Last week only we did. Now I hope you can manage very easy. You can calculate the you can calculate the number of moles, and then you have to convert it into the concentration. So you have to think of the units as well. We mentioned the SI unit of concentration, that is moles per cubic meter, right? Moles per cubic meter. Mole is the SI unit of measuring the amount of substance. Cubic meter is the SI unit of measuring the volume, but most probably in the laboratory we express it in moles per cubic decimeters, right? Hari. Water is a good solvent. Write two special properties possessed by water due to the intermolecular forces. Yes, what are the properties possessed by water due to the presence of intermolecular forces? Oh, Metuja? Having a high boiling point. Having a high boiling point. Yes. What else? Yes, Chenita. Oh, can. Metuja can. Anyone else? What are the other properties possessed by water due to the presence of intermolecular bonds? Yes, presence of a high boiling point. Having a high specific heat capacity. And සමහර අය ලියනවා having a boiling point, having a specific heat capacity. ඒවා හැමෝටම තියෙනවා. High boiling point, high specific heat capacity. Because of having a high boiling point, water exists as a liquid at room temperature. That is also important. වාගෙට ලියන්න එපා. Water exists as a liquid කියන්න එපා. Water exists as a liquid at room temperature. Okay? තාමනාද? Yes, having a high boiling point, having a high specific heat capacity. Water exists as a liquid at room temperature, and also water is having a higher density than that of ice. That is also important, right? Having a high density, water having a high density than ice. එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා intermolecular forces means you should be able to draw the Lewis structure of the water molecule. You know it is an angular molecule, and due to the difference in electronegativity, it has become a polar molecule, right? Water is polar. එතකොට ඒවත් මතක් කරලා දෙන්න එපා. Oxygen attracts bond electrons towards itself. Therefore, oxygen gets a slight negative charge, while each hydrogen gets a slight positive charge. Then if we consider another water molecule, we can draw something like this. Here also the same thing happens. We have to show the two lone pairs. Hydrogen gets a slight positive charge. As a result, inside the molecule we find the covalent bonds, right? Then in between the water molecules, due to this polarity, attractive forces occur in between hydrogen and oxygen, right? In between the molecules, intermolecular bond, right? Intermolecular bond. තුන්දෙනෙක්වත් ඇන්දොත් තමයි හොඳ. If you are asked to show the intermolecular bonds, you can draw at least 3 molecules and show that. So another water molecule here, delta minus, delta plus, delta plus. Then you can show the intermolecular bonds in between these, right? And say these are intermolecular bonds. Actually, these are hydrogen bonds. These are strong. Therefore, in order to take them to the gaseous state, we have to break these intermolecular bonds, right? So we have to apply high amount of energy. That is why water has got a high boiling point. Because of these intermolecular bonds, water has got a high boiling point, and water exists as a liquid at room temperature. And also it has a high specific heat capacity, and also because of the differential expansion that happens on freezing, water has got a high density than ice. හරිද? නෝ පැහැදිලිව කියන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඉවරයි නේද ප්‍රශ්නේ? එතකොට for the two features you get 2 marks. Whether you can put marks out of 15. දාන්න බලන්න out of 15. When is moles per cubic meter is used? So if you are given the volume in cubic meters, you can calculate it in cubic meters generally, because it is the SI unit. But in most of the laboratory experiments, as well as in the calculations in the question paper, we calculate it in moles per cubic decimeter. It is accepted. Hari. Yes, 15 out of 15. Okay, 2 of you, good. Then 14. Many of you have got 14. මොකද්ද අඩු වෙච්ච ලකුණු දන්නේ නේ? Yes. හරි. දැන් කික්කනගේ අහන්න ගියොත් වෙලා යනවා. Solubility ලු එරන් කියවුනේ එරන් temperature mention කරලා තිබුණේ නැහැ නේද? හරි. Then 13. Okay, good. Then 12. Hari. Okay, so that is the final mark that I'm asking, right? So you have to reach that level, 12 or above. Then we are moving on to the second question. At the end, I will mention what are the years from which I obtained these questions, the O-level paper. Average masses of macronutrients present in a biscuit of a particular brand are given in the following table. Proteins, carbohydrates and fats. In a particular biscuit, they say. Hari, what are the elements present in proteins? Oh, another Shaneli, elements present in proteins. No. Yes, you have definitely mentioned carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. These 4 are compulsory, and you can say, and sometimes sulfur. And sometimes in some of the amino acids we find sulfur. No? So these 4 are essential. If you have mentioned these 4, you will get 1 mark. 1 mark. Right? Then when a person consumes a biscuit of the above brand, in which part of the digestive system does its digestion start? Whatever the brand, the digestion starts in the mouth cavity or the buccal cavity. 1 mark. Then name the enzyme that is added to food in the part stated in A above, and state the nutrient on which that enzyme acts. Yes, what is the enzyme? Enzyme is salivary amylase or thiolene. Salivary amylase or thiolene. For the enzyme, you get how many marks? 1 mark. Right? 1 mark. Then, state the nutrient. What is the nutrient you mentioned? Yes, Janudi? What is it? Carbohydrate. Nutrient should be carbohydrate. Then only you will get 1 mark. If anyone has mentioned starch, no marks. Because we know the major nutrients carbohydrate, proteins and lipids. If I have only written amylase. කමක් නෑ amylase විතරක් තිබුණාට කමක් නෑ 1 mark එක හම්බෙනවා. හැබැයි for starch no marks, right? because it asks about the nutrient. Okay, nutrient කියලා ඇහුවොත් we have to remember that there are uh, three major nutrients. ඊට පස්සේ biomolecules ගත්තොත් four major biomolecules. හරිද? නමෙන් හරියට කියන්න ඕනේ. Four major biomolecules: carbohydrates, proteins, lipids and nucleic acids. Major nutrients: carbohydrates, proteins and lipids. හරිද? State two, එතකොට then the 2 marks, right? For this part, 2 marks. State the 2 substances that are mainly added to this food in the stomach. What are added in the stomach? Yes. Yes, hydrochloric acid, dilute hydrochloric acid, or if you just say hydrochloric acid, it's okay, 1 mark. Then, and the enzyme, pepsin, right? You don't need to mention renin because it is secreted in infants. So you have to say dilute hydrochloric acid and pepsin. For that you get 2 marks, 1 for each. Then in which part of the digestive system is the digestion of this food completed? Yes, digestion gets completed in the small intestine. Small intestine, 1 mark. Then, state the end products of this digestive process. එතකොට end products කිව්වහම you have to say monosaccharides. හරිද? Monosaccharides, carbohydrate digestion end product monosaccharides. ඊළඟට protein digestion end product amino acids. ඊළඟට lipid digestion fatty acids and glycerol. දෙකම කියන්න ඕනේ. මේ හතරම ලියලා තියෙනවා නම් you will get 4 marks, 1 for each. Monosaccharides, amino acids, fatty acids and glycerol. If you have written the names of I wrote glucose කියලා තියෙනවා කමක් නැහැ ඒකට ඒ අවුරුද්දේ marks දුන්නා. If you have written the monosaccharides by names glucose, fructose, galactose එහෙම ලියලා තිබුණා නම් you were given 1 mark, but better to write like this. Next time we don't know whether you will be awarded marks. Enisa better to say monosaccharides, amino acids, fatty acids and glycerol, 4 marks. Metuche, any problem? Small intestine. In which part digestion gets completed? Small intestine, 1 mark. ඊළඟට අහනවා write one adaptation of the human digestive system for efficient absorption of end products of the digestive process. එතකොට what are the adaptations for efficient digestion? Small intestine being a long tube. එකයි නේද අහන්නේ, one adaptation being a long tube. Small intestine being a long tube. ඊළඟට presence of circular folds on the inner wall of the small intestine. Then presence of villi on the inner wall. ඊළඟට presence of microvilli on the free surface of the villi. Presence of microvilli on the free surface of villi. ඊළඟට thin epithelial lining. Presence of a thin epithelial lining. තාමනාද කියන්න පුළුවන්. Highly vascularized. Highly vascularized. That means presence of a widely distributed capillary network. කියන එකනේ අපි කියන්නේ highly vascularized villi. නිකම්ම highly vascularized කියලා නවත්තන්න එපා. Highly vascularized villi. Right? If you have mentioned one of these, you will get that 1 mark. හරිද? That is part A. Then in part B, you are asked about reproductive process. Reproduction is the process of production of a new generation from one generation. Right? State respectively the names given to make the female gametes that contribute to human reproductive process. Male and female gametes. So, human reproductive process. You have to say male sperms, right? Female ova or egg cells. Ova or egg cells, right? Female gametes. Hari mega sperm, ovum unat kamak na singular sperm, ovum or the egg cell. 1 mark for each. එතකොට මේ වගේ එකක් අහුවම male and female කියලා කිව්වහම better to write male and female. එහෙම නැත්නම් order එකට ලිව්වත් ලකුණු දෙනවා. But don't take a risk, right? You'd better to write male, female කියලා ලියලා ඉස්සරහින් you have to mention. එතකොට in plants, what do you call this? Male gametes are pollen in plants. ඊළඟට in plants, the female gametes are known as ovules. Okay, මෙතන පැහැදිලිව කියනවා human reproductive process කියලා. 1 mark for each, 2 marks. In a human somatic cell, how many pairs of sex chromosomes are present? So you know, in a somatic cell we find 23 pairs of chromosomes. නේද? 23 pairs of chromosomes are there. Out of them only one pair is sex chromosomes, right? The others are somatic chromosomes. The other 22 pairs. The answer should be one pair. One pair. How many pairs? One pair, right? No any other answer. One pair. Then you will get 1 mark. හරි ඊට පස්සේ මොකද කියන්නේ considering the sex chromosomes, show using a diagram how sex is determined in humans. So you can either represent it normally or you can use the Punnett square, right? I will write it here. What is the question number 3? B part 3. So when you are writing the answers in the question, in the exam also, it's very important to put the question numbers properly. That is also important. ඔක්කොම හරියට ලියලා numbers ටික මාරු කරලා නම් ඒත් අපරාධි, no marks then. You have to put the question number correctly. එතකොට අපිට මෙතන we can start parents, mother, father, නැත්නම් male female කියලා දාන්න පුළුවන්. So the mother, that is XX, and father XY. Then you can write the gametes. Here X, here X and Y. So the children or the first filial generation, you can write it like this. XX. So here you have to say daughter or female, right? Here XY, son or male. Then here XX, female or daughter. Then here XY, son or female. Sorry, son or male. Okay. මේ විදිහට තියනවා නම් for showing the mother cell. නැත්නම් ඔයගොල්ලෝ අර if you have drawn circles like this, here this is X and here Y, XX මෙහෙම ලිව්වත් ඒ විදියට ඇඳලා තිබුණත් it's correct, right? එතකොට for this first step for showing the parental genotypes 1 mark, for showing the gametes another 1 mark, for mentioning the children, for indicating the children, the genotypes as well as who are they, another 1 mark. එහෙම නැත්නම් you can present this using the Punnett square as well. In the Punnett square කොහමද? So the father, mother, male, female. Then you have to write the gametes here. On this side I will mention the male gametes X and Y. This side I will mention the female gametes X and X. එතකොට here X, 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 XY, XY. ඔහොම අරගෙන then you here in each one you have to write whether it is male or female. මෙතන ලියනවා female. female. එතන ටිකක් අමාරුයි ලියන්න නේද? female, male, male ඒ විදිහට ලියන්න ඕනේ එතන. දැන් මෙතන අපි පහලින් ලිව්වා වගේ. Then also you will get all 3 marks. You have written by using the Punnett square. නේද? That is the end. අනේ තව එකක් තියෙනවා. 3 marks for this part. And a 4th part. In the 4th part, you are asked, what is the sex-linked disorder that occurs only in males? What is it? You have learned about only 2 sex-linked disorders, hemophilia and red-green color blindness. Out of these 2, what is the one present only in males? That is, yes, hemophilia, 1 mark. Hemophilia, 1 mark. What is the genetic reason for this disorder? X chromosome linked recessive gene, right? X chromosome linked recessive gene. X linked recessive gene. XX linked recessive gene. 1 mark. So give marks out of 20. Give marks out of 20. So third question is a part of a question. We will discuss that once you write the answers for the 4th one as well. The 4th one is a structured essay question. Part A question. So let's see. Um, Third question. That is only a part of a question, right? Following observations were recorded by a group of students conducting a field study on a sunny day in relation to a pond ecosystem. The aquatic plants Hydrilla vallisneria, Aponogeton, Kekatia කියන එක. Aponogeton is the scientific name, right? And Salvinia are found in abundance in the pond. Found in abundance. Gas bubbles are liberated by plants growing submerged in water. That means you know that photosynthesis takes place, right? Fish in the pond swim, moving their fins. A kingfisher catches a fish and flies. A species of small insects come to the water surface from time to time and moves down again. Small insects come to the water surface. That may be indicating respiration, right? Because they come onto the surface in order to get oxygen. Name two characteristics of the living organisms according to the above observations. Characteristics of living organisms, you have learned them in grade 10, 8th unit, right? So what are the characteristics of living organisms? Here, movement is shown, swimming, flying, right? Movement. Yes. Yes, Budhe? Respiration, you can say just respiration. Respiration. Ilangata, nutrition. The plants produce food. The the kingfisher catches the fish. That is nutrition. Movement, respiration, and nutrition. These are the characteristics. According to the above observations, right? Now we can mention those three. Yak dahane 2. So you will get 2 marks. Locomotion නෙවෙයි. The living characteristic is movement. Right? Organisms show movements. No marks for locomotion. Right? Movements. The animals show a special type of a movement, that is locomotion. So the common characteristic is movement, right? Name the gas present in abundance in the gas bubbles liberated by the plants growing submerged in water, that is oxygen, right? What is the process relevant to the production of that gas? That is photosynthesis. Easy. 1 mark for each. Of the aquatic plants observed, which is the dioecious plant? Dioecious. What is it? Aquatic plants, Hydrilla vallisneria, Aponogeton, Salvinia. Out of them, what is the dioecious plant? Yes, Kiana, we have mentioned that. Yes, that is vallisneria. Why? Why is it called a dioecious plant? Yes. Dioecious means staminate and pistillate flowers are born separately. Staminate and pistillate flowers are born separately. That is the reason. අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කියන්නේ male and female flowers කියලා කියන්නේ නෑ. Staminate male. Pistillate කියන්නේ අපි so called female කියන එක. එතකොට staminate and pistillate flowers are born separately. That is why we call it as a dioecious plant. 1 mark for each. What is the pollinating agent of that plant? Pollination takes place by means of water. ඉගෙන ගත්තන් the staminate flower floats on water when it finds a pistillate flower, the pollination takes place. So the staminate flowers are taken through water. So the method of pollination is water. 1 mark. From the interactions observed by the students, construct a food chain with 3 links. What the food chain with 3 links? So, got a fish in the pond are caught by the kingfisher. එහෙනම් මොකක්ද? Aquatic plants, fish and kingfisher. එම ලියන්න පුළුවන් එකක්. තව මොනවද ඔයගොල්ලෝ ලිව්වේ? Aquatic plant are eaten by the fish. Fish is eaten by the kingfisher. එක එකක්. තව මොනවද? Anything else that you have written? And they mention about certain small insects also. So you can say aquatic plants, insects, and insects are eaten by the fish. Or aquatic plants, insects are eaten by the kingfisher. එමත් හදන්න පුළුවන් නේද? 1 mark. 3 links වෙන්න ඕනේ. Part yes. Insects, fish and kingfisher ලියන්න බෑ. මොකද a food chain always starts with the producer. Producer නෑනේ එතකොට. Insects are not producers. They always a food chain should start with a producer. That is most probably it is a green plant. Or even algae can be considered. These are not plants, but these are producers. Phytoplankton, algae. But here you are given a set of aquatic plants. You have to start with an aquatic plant always. You have to start with the producer always. As regards the above observations, present 2 facts to justify that the pond can be considered as an ecosystem. In an ecosystem, you know, the both biotic and abiotic factors should be present and they should interact with each other. Biotic means living, abiotic means non-living. How do you consider that this is an ecosystem? You have to say number 1, 2 facts are no? Living and non-living things are present. At the presence of living components and non-living components. 1 mark. දෙගොල්ලම ඉන්නවා කියන්න ඕනේ. Living, non-living, biotic, abiotic. ඊළඟට there are interactions in between the living component and the non-living component. There are interactions among them. Living, living, non-living, and non-living, non-living. අනේ වගේ the interactions are there කියනවාට 1 mark. හරිද? So for this part, this is part A, right? You get 2 marks for this one. So altogether here, the 2, 4, 6, 7, 10. 10 marks for part A. හරි නේද? දැන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ඉගෙන ගන්න දේවල් ගොඩක් තියෙනවා when we take one question. අද දැන් theory part එකක් කියලා දෙන්න බලමු වෙලා තියෙයිද කියලා. දැන් මම මේ දවස් මම මතක් කරලා දුන්නා. At the end of the questions we discussed මොනවාද? මුලින්ම පටන් ගත්තේ displacement time graphs, velocity time graphs, acceleration due to gravity, when an object is projected vertically upwards and when an object is freely moving down. ඒවා ගැන කතා කළා. The graphs and the type of motion. ඊළඟට මම කියලා දුන්න මොනවාද? Last week we discussed about friction, right? එවනේ? At the end of the session. අදත් බලමු වෙලා තිබ්බොත් මම කියන්නම් තව part එකක්. From the plants given in the box, select a plant which is an example for each of the following statements and write on the dotted line opposite each. Hari. So the first one it says, non-flowering plant. මොනවද දීලා තියෙන්නේ? Pinus, coconut, jack, paddy, marcantia, acalipa, Cicus, Pogonatum. A non-flowering plant without seeds. එතකොට මෙතන තියෙන non-flowering plants තමයි Pinus, marcantia, Ceacus pogonatum. Edoda Pinus and Ceacus, you know, they are non-flowering seed plants. Gymnosperms, non-flowering seed plants. And we have a chart plant classification. Harida. A non-flowering plant without seeds, you have to say either Marcantia or Pogonatum. Marcantia or Pogonatum, 1 mark. Non-flowering plant with seeds, either Pinus or Ceacus, 1 mark. And monocotyledonous flowering plant. You know, flowering plants are divided into 2 categories, monocots and dicots. එතකොට මෙතන තියෙන monocots තමයි paddy and coconut. So either paddy or coconut, 1 mark. Dicotyledonous flowering plant, Jack Acalipa. The Cupamania. Jack or Acalipa or Cupamania, 1 mark. Harine. In order to demonstrate the action of the enzyme amylase on starch during the process of digestion of food, a mixture was made by adding starch and amylase to water. The mixture was placed in a water bath at a temperature 37 degrees Celsius. After 5 minutes, a drop from the mixture was taken out. A drop of iodine solution was added to it and the color was observed. You can remember this activity. We learned to study the action of enzymes. The above test was repeated at times given in the following table. The color observed in each instance is shown in the table. 5 minutes, 15, 25, 35, likewise violet, blue, blue color reduces, and at the end you get the color of iodine. What is the compound formed by the action of amylase on starch in the aqueous medium? When amylase acts on starch, you know, maltose is formed. Maltose is the answer, 1 mark. Give the reason for the following observations. Appearance of blue color after 15 minutes. Blue color due to the presence of starch. Presence of starch, 1 mark. Appearance of yellow-brown color after 35 minutes. Absence of starch. All starch has been reacted. All starch has been reacted or due to the formation of maltose. Complete formation of maltose. Starch is fully reacted. No more starch is there. Right? So starch is fully converted into maltose. That is the reason. At the end of 35 minutes, the color of iodine is obtained because of the fully conversion of starch into maltose. Starch is fully reacted. Maltose starch is fully reacted. No more starch is there. That is why. 1 mark. Why is the mixture subjected to the experiment kept in a water bath at 37 degrees Celsius? To provide the optimum temperature for the enzymatic action. Enzymes become active. Enzymes have the maximum maximum enzymatic activity is obtained at this temperature. This is the optimum temperature increases the rate of the reaction. To provide the optimum temperature for the enzyme activity. To provide the optimum temperature for the enzyme activity. For that you get 1 mark. Which component does not undergo a chemical change though contributes to the chemical reaction pertaining to the above experiment? You know, the catalyst. Here the enzyme does not undergo a chemical change, that is amylase. Amylase is the name of the enzyme, amylase enzyme. 1 mark. Hari neda matakai neda ee activity එක. Then part C. Given below is a diagram of a typical plant cell drawn based on the electron microscopic observations. Plant cell. Hari. PQRST කියලා දීලා තියෙනවා, and you are shown the chloroplast and the mitochondrion. See the shapes. Mitochondrion is rod shaped and the chloroplast is more or less oval shaped. By which letter is the structure that helps to maintain the shape of the cell named? So you know the shape of the cell is maintained by the cell wall, right? That is letter P. Shape of the cell is maintained by the cell wall, P. 1 mark. Then write the names of the organelles labeled Q and T. Another Q and T in the relevant boxes. Boxes දීලා තියෙනවානේ. එතකොට Q is the cell membrane or the plasma membrane කිව්වත් කමක් නැහැ. Cell membrane or the plasma membrane. T is the Golgi body or the Golgi complex. 1 mark for each. Golgi body or the Golgi complex. 1 mark for each. By what letter is the organelle that can also be identified when observed under the optical microscope labeled? So what are the organelles that can be observed even under the optical microscope? We know chloroplast, mitochondrion, they are not visible under the compound microscope, even the Golgi complex. But we can see the nucleus and also the central vacuole. ඔය දෙන්න තමයි පේන්නේ. Cell wall එක පේනවා, cell membrane, Golgi complex, extremely sorry, not the Golgi complex, cell wall, plasma membrane. ඊළඟට mainly cell wall තමයි හොඳටම පේන්නේ අපිට. If it is an animal cell, we can see the plasma membrane as the outermost cover. Then we can see the nucleus and also the central vacuole or the vacuole. එහෙනම් මෙතන මොකක්ද අහන්නේ? By what letter is the organelle that can also be identified when observed under the optical microscope? එතකොට we can see R and also S. Organelle ne, එතකොට we don't consider the cell wall as an organelle. Therefore, we have to say either R or S. 1 mark. State the function carried out by the following organelles. Chloroplast, producing food, නැත්නම් carrying out photosynthesis. Carrying out photosynthesis. Then mitochondrion. That is cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. 1 mark. Put marks out of 15. Cellular respiration. Then ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පේනවා these are very easy, right? The theory parts that you have learned. Theory parts that you have learned are asked. So once you present them in the proper manner, then only you will get marks. හරිද? එතකොට මම අද මතක් කරලා දෙන්නම් වෙලාව තියෙනවද? 5 minutes විතර අරගෙන. Today is the 7th, right? Hari. So if we revise the Newton laws of motion, right? So in the Newton's first law of motion, what is mentioned there? Yes. Newton's first law of motion, there he has mentioned that if not an unbalanced force is applied, if not an unbalanced force is applied, objects at rest will remain at rest. For example, if we consider this, the forces acting on this box on the table is the weight acting downwards and the perpendicular reaction acting upwards. Since W is equal to R, there is no any unbalanced force. Therefore, this is at rest. Something hanging. So, the weight is acting downwards, the tension is acting upwards. Since the weight is equal to the tension, there is no any unbalanced force. This is at rest. මේක කිව්වා. ඊට පස්සේ මොකද වෙන්නේ? එහෙම නැත්නම් an object which is floating, fully submerged or partially submerged and floating. දැන් මොකද වෙන්නේ? The weight is acting downwards and the upthrust is acting upwards. So the weight is equal to the upthrust, and you know these are collinear forces. If you are asked to draw, you have to draw as straight lines. Collinear. So the objects at rest remain at rest. Ilangata he mentioned that if there is no any unbalanced force acting on an object, the objects which are moving will continue to move in a uniform velocity. For example, if we consider a vehicle which is traveling, the force is exerted by the engine, which is known as the thrust, right? The force exerted by the engine, right? And when if it is moving this way, you know if it is moving this way, you know the frictional force is exerted towards this direction, frictional force. So these two forces are the same. Therefore, this maintains a uniform velocity. What happens if an unbalanced force is applied towards the direction of motion? Now, this is the direction of motion. An unbalanced force is applied. You know, to find the unbalanced force, you have to take the difference in between the two forces, right? So, the direction of the equivalent force will be the direction of the higher force. අපි හැදුවනේ එහෙම ගණන් දැන් මෙතන දානවා අපි 10 Newton. Here it is 4 Newton. එතකොට the equivalent force is the difference in between these two, that is 10 Newton minus 4 Newton, that is altogether 6 Newton to this direction. Now, since equivalent means if there is no any unbalanced force, the equivalent force is 0. If there is no any unbalanced force, the equivalent force is 0. If an unbalanced force is acting, what happens? If an unbalanced force is acting, the equivalent force has a value. So, if an unbalanced force is acting towards the direction of motion, if an unbalanced force is acting towards the direction of motion, unbalanced force acting towards the direction of motion, if an unbalanced force is acting towards the direction of motion, it accelerates. It accelerates. යන පැත්තටම unbalanced force එකක් එනවා නම් it accelerates. Right? Then what is the opposite? If an unbalanced force is acting against the direction of motion, applying brake, right? එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? It will be decelerated. So the equivalent force is towards the opposite direction of motion. මේ පැත්ත erase කරන්නද? ආද? The objects at rest. if an unbalanced force is acting against the direction of motion, now it was moving towards this direction, so this is the force which was acting towards this direction, and due to applying brakes, we'll say. Now this is 5 Newton and this is 8 Newton. So there is an unbalanced force. Equivalent force is force equals 8 Newton minus 5 Newton. 8 Newton this way, 5 Newton this way. So it is 3 Newtons towards the opposite direction of motion. So if the unbalanced force is acting against the motion and to the opposite direction of motion, it decelerates. There is the deceleration. එතකොට ඔය දෙක වෙන්නේ නැත්නම් if the equivalent force is 0, the object is at rest or it will be moving in a uniform velocity. ඕක තමයි Newton's first law එකෙන් කිව්වේ. එතකොට ඔයගලන්ට මේ වගේ incident එකක් දීලා if you asked which law of Newton is applied here කියලා, you have to say that it is the first law of motion. If you are asked to write it in words, you have to say if there is no any unbalanced force acting on an object, the objects at rest will remain at rest. The objects which are moving will continue to move in a uniform velocity. හරි නේද? තමයි කියන්න ඕනේ. හරි. එහෙමනම් ඔන්න you can take this down and leave. So I have shared the schedule for the coming few weeks. Next Saturday we are not having the session, right? මම ඒකට දාලා තියෙනවා දවස් ටික බලලා හරියට join වෙන්න. We have having the theory class today at 10 o'clock. අද බලන්න ඔන්න link එක හරියට ඇවිල්ලාද නැත්නම් කලින් කියන්න මම double check කරා ඊයේ. හරි නේද? Okay, then have a nice day.